I can let them in. But for the sake of the recording and for you, Jim, as you just entered, we are talking about the Zoom integration with Brightspace today, Bongo Virtual Classroom, which is what they call it in Brightspace instead of just Bongo, video assignments, which is Bongo Assignments. And then we're also going to talk about creating groups in a Brightspace course. And of course, like any other week, any other session, if you have any questions, just speak up or put it in the chat. I'll be looking at that and also listening to you guys. We do have a small group today, so I think it's a little more receptive to question asking. So we will get started. We'll just do that sharing screen thing and we'll get going here. All right, so I'm already in my Brightspace course. I logged in, we're on the organizational homepage. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Zoom integration. So first of all, I have to go to a course. I'm going to go to my sandbox. And it actually shows up right here in the nav bar as one of the tools. So by default, it just kind of shows up. But if you don't see it, it's probably under this tools menu. You could probably scroll down and find it here. Or I bet if you go to course admin, since it has all the tools, it's probably in here somewhere, though I could be wrong. But it should be right here on the nav bar. So if you click on it, this Zoom page shows you all of the Zoom meetings that you have for the particular course that you're in. If you created like some meetings outside of this Brightspace course, which you probably have if you're using Zoom, then you're not going to see them here, and students won't see your other meetings here either. All this Zoom page shows is meetings that you've created within this course. So if I go to another course I have, I won't see these office hours meetings. I'll have to create my own, and thus students won't see them either. So it's kind of nice that you're able to go between Zoom meetings for this course and the Zoom meetings for another course. It's kind of all very compartmentalized. So what you can do is you can schedule meetings through the Zoom link, and it will only be for this course. So if you wanted to make some new meetings, you come right over here to the schedule a new meeting button, and it opens up the same sort of settings that you would see on your Zoom account. So I can change the topic here to maybe final exam, office hours. I want these office hours to just be about final exam and final project questions. You can enter a meeting description if you like. And then you can also say when the meeting is. If you want it to be a once in a lifetime opportunity, you can just keep it at whatever date you want to set, and then for whatever time. Or if you want it to be recurring, you can have it occur every day, every week, every month, or no fixed time. And you can repeat it every day or every 2 days, you know, as it goes. And you can also select an end date for that recurring meeting situation. You can also have it for after a certain amount of occurrences. If you don't really have a date in mind, you just want 7 meetings, that's cool too. So I can do something like after 2 occurrences, daily, repeat every day. So 31st and then November 1st as my meeting days at 11 a.m. Then I can enable audio for my computer and a telephone. So if a student wants to come in via telephone, that's fine as well. You can have video for the host and participants. If you don't want them to have video or you don't think it's required, you could just turn their video off. You don't need to join with video. And then you have the alternative hosts, which you cannot fill in on Brightspace. You can normally fill it in on your Zoom account, but if there were multiple teachers in this course, like multiple instructors, they would show up here automatically. So you wouldn't have to worry if you're co-teaching a class with someone else, they'll show up as an alternative host so they can also start the meeting. That's really all that means. So if I click save, it gives me the same invitation page that it would give you on Zoom. You can add this to your Google Calendar if that's easier. You can also invite other people by copying the invitation. And then, of course, you can just start the meeting right at the bottom. So now if I click on my Zoom link yet again, you will see that my 2 new events have appeared here on the 31st and November 1st at 11 a.m. and they both have the same meeting ID, so you would just use the start button for the first occurrence of that recurring meeting. So it's all here, and if you were to go to your Zoom account on its own, went to marywood.edu/Zoom, signed into my account, it would show here under meetings too. So I can scroll down and I have my office hours that I already put in, and then I just added these final exam office hours, and they are here as well. So it kind of just correlates directly into your Zoom account as well as it does in your Brightspace course. And this didn't work for me earlier, but it should work for you. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but usually it just works. It will show up in your course calendar. For some reason, it doesn't for me, but it will for you. So do not take this as an example for your course experience. It will show up in your calendar, which means that students can then click on it in their calendar widget here on the course homepage, and they'll be able to see the join link there as well. You can either go up to the Zoom button, I believe, and click on meeting there, or they can go straight down to the calendar and click on whichever office hour occurrence or whatever meetings you have, and then they should be able to join the link on the calendar. Are there any questions about that so far? Okay, well, let me know if there are. I did also want to mention with the Zoom tool, that when you click on it, there are two other tabs here. We have previous meetings. So if I held previous meetings in this course, they would show up. And then I also have any cloud recordings that I have from these meetings. Now the same applies with Brightspace Zoom meetings as it does for your normal Zoom meetings. You have 10 days to download that cloud recording, and then you can upload it to Brightspace if you like. So unlike Moodle, where you have to upload it to Google Drive and then get a link because Moodle's upload sizes are pretty small, you can just kind of upload Zoom recordings to the content tool. We've successfully uploaded an 1.5-hour long recording, so honestly, anything's fair game. So if you do find a limit, let us know, but we haven't reached it yet. So you should be able to download your cloud recordings right here from any Brightspace Zoom meeting that you've set up. And then you can just kind of upload it to the content tool if you like. So that is also something to keep in mind. And if you ever need your details for your meetings, you can just click on the names and come right in here and get the invitations. I do believe for previous meetings, you can look at different like reports and things like that. I think because all my meetings are in the future, I don't have the reports tab, but you should be able to see reports for the meetings, like attendance, who attended from your course, when they joined and when they left, so you can see how long they were actually in the meeting. If you're doing a screen share like this, it's kind of nice to know who was here because you can't always see their faces. And then it also includes a poll report. So if you use polling in Zoom, you can see who answered the questions and things like that. So very cool little items to look at here in the Zoom tool. So if we do not have questions about that, we can go straight over to Bongo Virtual Classroom, which is essentially Bongo Meetings. If you're familiar with Bongo and Moodle, you would have to create an activity or resource, add your Bongo, and then select whether you wanted a meeting or an assignment. Here it's a little more straightforward. You can click on Tools and click on Virtual Classroom. And then once you get in there, it opens up and kind of looks like your Bongo space in Moodle, but it's set up a little bit differently. To create a meeting, you have to click on this red plus button in the bottom right, and then it gives you a whole bunch of fields to fill out. So you can create your title here, like maybe I want to have open discussion. And then you can set your meeting date and time. Now, if you wanted to do a recorded lecture or something, you can just say now, and it would start right after you're done saving your meeting details. But if you want it for some time in the future, we can say like the 23rd of October, and the meeting time is 10 a.m. So we have our date and time. Now, something different here with the Brightspace iteration of Bongo is that you have way more time to be in your meetings. So in previous instances with Bongo and Moodle. If you had a 3-hour class and you were planning on using Bongo, you'd have to have 2 different Bongo meetings for the first and second half of your course, or however you wanted to break it up. So for here, we have up to 240 minutes. So we have 4 hours of content that you can, enjoy and exist. Might be a bit much for students to watch later, but if you really needed to use up to 4 hours in a meeting, you can do that. You can also choose to make it recurring. So if you wanted to repeat it weekly, you can do that for however many weeks. So I can repeat this weekly for 3 weeks. That means I'll have 3 different meetings that have open discussion as the prefix, and then it'll have a number, as you can see with the weekly lectures behind this little window. And then you can also have it automatically record as soon as you enter the meeting, which is super nice in case you forget. And with Bongo, it's sometimes a little hard to know because the button doesn't automatically say record, it just says not recording. So it's nice to just have it automatically go. You can also have it publish the meeting automatically, which means that students will be able to access it right after it's done processing. You can also get an external link for your meeting if you want to invite outside like speakers or something like that. You can check this box and it'll give you the option to copy an external link for the meeting. And then you can invite the entire class. So that just means that all class members will be able to see this on their calendar. They'll know that it's existing and happening on this date and time. And then you can just click on save. It does say the max possible attendees is 150. I'm sure you'll never reach that, but keep that in mind, I guess. So if we scroll down here, I believe I have to go to my next page. You can see in between my weekly lectures here that I've made, there's some open discussions, 1, 2, and 3 for my 3 weekly occurrences. And if I go back to my course homepage here, I can scroll on down to the calendar, and you'll see in between all of these weekly lectures, I have my open discussions. Students will see these as well on their calendar widget. And if they click on it, you should see a link to open discussion 1. And if they click on it, they can just kind of go straight to the meeting page. And if you're familiar with Bongo, you can't enter the meeting room until the meeting is starting. And that's the same for the instructor as well. If you set this meeting to start at 10 a.m., you can't get in there until 10 a.m. So if you want a couple minutes to kind of get started, like I usually do, I would probably start them 10 minutes before the class actually starts so you can get in there, make sure everything's set up. And then once this 23 hours and 44 minutes is up, then you can click the enter meeting room button. It'll turn blue so you know that it's active, and then you can enter the meeting space. And I'll actually create another meeting just so you know what it looks like. So if I go to virtual classroom, excuse me. If I go to virtual classroom and click on the plus button, I'll just say that this is a test. And I'll bypass the date and time by clicking the now checkbox, so grays them out. I can say my max duration is 60 minutes. It could really be as low as 15, but I'll keep it at 60 because that's the default. It's not going to repeat. We'll keep it to manual record so I could show you how it actually records if you don't have it on automatic. And then we'll have it automatically publish the meeting once it's recorded. And I have no one in my class, so the invitations don't really matter. So I'm going to click save on that. It should take a little bit for the meeting to pop up, but once it does, it'll change our little page here and show us the meeting room because we're starting now, so it should just bring us to the meeting room in an ideal world anyway. I think Kat also had problems with this on Monday. It just was too excited to show me the meeting, so it just took a little bit. Okay, so I did need to find it just because I had previous meetings ahead of it, but just so you know, if you're one of these instructors who likes to use Bongo for weekly lectures or something like that, and you have a bunch of instances, you can just click on the arrows in the bottom right of the active meetings section, and you can go between pages. So when you're ready to launch a meeting, and this goes for pre-scheduled meetings as well, you can just click the 3 dots under Actions and click Launch. So we get to our meeting room page. It gives you some ideas of what you can call in on. If you want to call in via phone, you can do some computer pre-checks to make sure your computer is up to snuff, as it were. And you can go through audio and video recommendations and things like that. But once you're ready, you click enter meeting room and you enter the meeting room. So you get the option to click microphone or listen only. So if you're presenting, you're going to want to pick microphone. But because we're in Zoom, it's not going to accept my microphone because it's already being used somewhere else. I'm going to click listen only just so we can enter the meeting. So this is a standard meeting area for virtual classroom. We have our name of our classroom instance up here. This is test. Then we have start recording. It used to say not recording, so it was kind of a little confusing to people where you would actually record, but this is a little more straightforward, so that's exciting. We have some little tools over here that are very similar to Zoom. We have participants, and if you click on that, you see everyone who's in the meeting and what role they play. So for me, I have like screen sharing ability. I'm technically listening right now, so you get some idea of what people are doing. You also have chat. It tells you what the phone number is here. You can also send your messages to public chat, so you can say hello to everyone. You can also add files if you like. And then you can do some polling like you can in Zoom. You can create your poll right here. You can even just like talk to your students, and if you pose a question, you can just say, oh, is it yes or no? And then they can answer right then and there. It's pretty cool. We have breakout rooms here as well. And then there's closed captioning. So if you wanted to enable closed captioning and start transcribing what you're saying, you can do that. It's an option. And then on the right, we also have some tools for this multi-user whiteboard. So you can turn that on, and multiple users in the meeting can use the whiteboard. So you can see their names next to their little cursor. You can click on the hand to look at different tools. So we have like pencils, so you can write something. Admittedly, it's very hard to do that with the mouse. We also have a rectangle to kind of like draw a shape over anything, triangle, ellipse, line, and also text. So if you wanted to type something on the screen, you can. If you wanted to undo anything you've done, you can as well. And then clear all annotations to just clear off the board. You can also upload your presentations here, which automatically transcribes them to a PDF so that they each correspond to a slide. And then in the recording, it shows up as like an interactive table of contents. That's pretty cool. But then, you know, if you want to start recording it, make sure that you actually want to do it. It's also telling me that I have no active microphone, so it does kind of keep you in the loop as to your audio and video situation. You can also see on the bottom, we can leave the audio at any time. We can also share our webcam, which won't work because I'm in Zoom, but you can share your webcam and it'll show up as a little box somewhere on the screen. And then we also have screen sharing. And I'm not sure if this still applies to Brightspace, but at least in Moodle, you needed access to the Bongo screen share extension if you were using Google Chrome. And that's just as simple as searching that on Google, just Google screen share extension. You download the first thing that shows up, and it's this little bee icon in the top right. So once you have that, you should be able to screen share without issue. You just select whether you want your entire screen or an application window, just like with Zoom, and then it's up on the screen for everyone to see. And when you're done recording, you can just click pause. And then when you're done with the meeting, you can just, once these messages go away, you can just end the meeting, which ends it for everybody. So then you click OK, the session has ended, and it thanks you for using Virtual Classroom, and you just close the window. So I'm going to close that out, close my meeting lobby. So that's how you kind of launch a meeting. You kind of go through and look at the tools. If you wanted any more instruction on how to use Virtual Classroom in more detail, definitely reach out to the help desk and someone will get in contact with you. We can definitely go over it if it's something you'd like to do. Though it is very similar to Zoom, so we also understand if you like using Zoom better. It's just kind of whatever you're used to, because a lot of people were using Bongo before we switched over to Zoom, so whatever you are more comfortable with is what we are happy to support. So are there any questions about Virtual Classroom so far?
Good.
All right, I'm just going to take a sip of water because it is super dry in this room for some reason. All right. So next on the docket is Bongo video assignments. So if you have used the assignment feature in Moodle for Bongo, it is pretty much exactly the same. And it is right here in the tools menu, right beneath virtual classroom. It's called video assignments. So if we click on that, it'll open up video assignments. And I'm actually going to go over to my test course for this one because I actually do have students in this one that I can view the assignment with. So I'm going to go back to my tools area, scroll down to video assignments, and it's going to open up the video assignment page. So I have no assignments yet. So you click on that red button in the bottom right, and you get 4 options. We have interactive video assignment, question and answer assignment, group assignment, and individual assignment. On Monday, Kat went over the interactive video assignment, and that's pretty much just either uploading or recording a video and adding questions at certain timestamps so that the students can answer them. I'm actually going to go over the individual assignment today just because I've spent a lot of time with the group assignment in Moodle this week, so I feel like I have a little more detail on this one. It'll be nice to add some flavor to our recordings here. But they all kind of have a very similar setup. So individual activity is very different from an interactive video, but their setup is very much the same. You have assignment names, due dates and due times, evaluation types, and instructions. They're pretty much all the same. So whatever you learn here is applicable to the other types as well. So our assignment name for this one might be Picture Story, because the little theme I have going with this test course is about writing. So maybe I'll have them pitch a story to me. So I can set my due date here. I can do it maybe for a week from now. So I'll click on the 29th of October and then set a due time. So if I want it to be like 11:59 p.m., so like right before midnight, so no one's confused. And then the evaluation type can be percentage, it could be rubric, pass, fail, auto pass, or 5-star. This is for you, how you want to grade this. Percentage is your typical like out of 100, pretty easy. Rubric is interesting because you can actually create rubrics within Bongo. So if you were to click on rubric, you get this option to select any rubrics that you already created. And if you have none, you just click on the 3 dots over here on the right and click configure rubrics. And then you would click the plus button yet again, and you can either import a rubric. So if you had one in Moodle for Bongo that you want to use again, you can import it from there. You'd have to export it first, but you can import it then later. Or you can create one from scratch. And I'm not going to actually go through and do it, but I could show you how it would work. But click the plus button here, we have our rows and our columns. So you have your different levels up at the top, and then the different criteria on the left. And then you would just assign point values to each of them and kind of describe what makes each criterion a certain level. So pretty standard. Your max points for each of these will show up here at the bottom, and it'll also show to the students what the max value they can get on this project is. So once you were to go through and make your rubric, you can add your columns here if you want more than 4. You can add rows if you want more than 2. And you can also delete them if you like. Make sure to give it a name so you remember what it's for. And then you can always go back and click on configure assignment to go back to where you were. So if I wanted to actually make this a percentage, I can change that, and then we don't have the option to click on rubrics. Though if you did use the rubric evaluation type, it kind of opens up other features for you. Like later on, we'll see rubric self-assessment, which takes the rubric that you added and lets the student self-assess. And then they can also do peer review with the rubric. They can review their peers using the rubric that you are putting on the assignment as well. So it kind of opens up some other options. Then we have the instructions area where we can add a video for instructions, or we can add text. It does require a little bit of text, and we do recommend that if you are using text to keep it succinct, and if you want to explain anything in more detail, the video is probably your best bet. So keep things short and simple here. And then if you wanted to do the video, you kind of just click on the video icon and you get 3 options. So if you want to record a video, you are more than welcome to. You can use the camera and you can also share your screen. So if you wanted to demonstrate what they should be doing for this project, you can go through and share your screen and then record the video. You can also upload a video from your PC. So if you've already made one using Zoom or any other sort of video capture, you can upload that here as well. And then if you had any like meetings or recorded lectures, or even if you created a video in virtual classroom, you can select from resources and that would show up. But if you were to record a video, it's not going to actually do it because I have my camera working in Zoom, but it'll auto detect what camera is working and then it'll auto detect your audio input from when you're talking. So it kind of detects where the voice is coming from, and then it assigns a microphone and a camera. So you should be able to see yourself right here in the middle. And if you're sharing your screen, you'll see yourself on the left and the screen on the right. And then you just kind of go to town. And when you're done, there'll be a stop button, and then you can click the floppy disk icon to save your video. It all becomes very apparent once you start recording it, but because I can't really show you, it's a little difficult to explain. So right under instructions, we have this thing called auto analysis, which includes like key terms. So if you wanted to set some key terms for students to present in their videos, you can configure some key terms and add them in here. This also kind of analyzes their speech and how many like filler words they use, how concise they were. It's very interesting. It's definitely something you can keep on if you like, or you could turn it off. It could be personal to you, so you don't have to show the learner what their scores were for auto analysis. You can just kind of keep it to yourself, or you could just turn it off altogether. And then we also have peer review. So once a student has submitted their video or their file or whatever you're asking them to submit, they can peer review their fellow classmates, and you can set a certain number of required reviews. So in all of these assignment setups, though they may have some different aspects, they all have this Show Advanced button, which adds even more stuff for us to look at, but it's not an overwhelming amount. It's just enough to be interesting. So the first thing you'll see in the advanced options is this post-submission instructions. So if you had some instructions for them to do after they submit their assignment, like, oh, congratulations, now go discuss your experience in the forums. So you can put a video here if you like, or you can just type in the text, but either way, it'll show up to them after they submit their final assignment. Then we also have a tool set here, which is what you can allow the students to submit for this assignment. So we have 3 options that are always defaulted to be on. We have our videos. So if you want them to submit videos, keep this on. If you want them to submit documents or links, keep this on as well. And then they can also set up meetings within these assignments. So if you want them to set up Bongo meetings like we looked at before, you can keep this on as well. But otherwise, I would just kind of turn that off usually. Personally, I think the video and the documents kind of cover everything, but if you want to play around with the meetings option, you are more than welcome. We have another chance at auto analysis here if we want to, but mainly this advanced options area shows you more options for peer review. So if you really want to do some peer review, you get some more options here. We have our automatic system selected, so you can have it so that the course selects who the student gets to review instead of them choosing from a list, or you can have it manual so that they do choose from a list. You can also have the peers review themselves before submission, so if you want them to be able to look at others before they submit their own, you can check this box. You can also conceal the reviewer's identity so that the person they are reviewing doesn't know who they were. And then if you have it automatic, you can conceal the submitter's identity as well. But if it's manual, since they're selecting the names, that's not really possible. And then you can adjust the number of required reviews. So if you want to keep on peer review as like an option, but you don't really want them to feel required to do so, you can kind of move this down to 0, and then it's more of an optional sort of option. You can have a review type as well. So we have none if you don't want them to review anything specific. If you click none, they can still comment or supply a video response. If you click 5-star, they can add a 5-star rating to the review, or 1 to 5 stars rather. And if you did use a rubric, you can have them use the assignment rubric to review their peers. And then you can set a separate due date and due time for these peer reviews. So if my assignment is due the 29th, maybe I want them to have their peer reviews done by the following week. And then if you did use rubric as your evaluation type, you'd see rubric self-assessment, and you can use that as well. And we can click save, and our assignment is now created. So if you wanted to change this at any time, if you realize the due date isn't what you wanted, or you wanted to change some instructions, you can always click on the actions button and then click configure, and it brings you back to that settings page. But I'm going to look through a student's eyes so I can show you what that assignment actually looks like. So if I click on class list, I'm going to impersonate my demo student, or at least I thought I could. I think I have a weird setup here where maybe I can't do that. But maybe I can view it as a student, but I think Kat did that on Monday and it didn't work. So maybe I won't, but rest assured, it's pretty cool. I can kind of show you maybe from the Moodle standpoint what it looks like, because it's much different than what the instructor sees. So let me look it up real quick just so I can kind of show you. Forget the fact that we're looking at Moodle while talking about Brightspace. It kind of feels taboo, but I just want to drive a point home. So let me see here. No, I didn't change over to student. Oh well, we're going to do it real quick, and if it doesn't work within 5 minutes, we are dropping it and pretending it never happened. So I'm looking as a student. Let's hope this works. Individual assignment. All right, it did work. I'm way too proud about that. All right, so this is what the students will see in Brightspace as well, but I'm just showing you on Moodle because I have a better example. So at the top, you will see when the assignment is actually due. And because this was set for the 12th, it says past due. So if the student's trying to do it late, they know that it's late. You will also see the instructions here. I failed the short but concise recommendation here, but you can forget that for instructional purposes. But you can see the text on the side, and then you can see the video on the left. It's literally just 3 seconds of me smiling with a thumbs up to get this nice little screen capture for a document. But usually videos are more instructional than that. And then for these video assignments, whether it's individual or group, it's very much the same. There's a work in progress area where you can click add. And then on this one, I only required videos, so no files or links. And they would click on video, and they have the same option as you do for the instructions, whether they want to record or upload. So for recording, they can do the camera and the screen, or they can upload a video if they've already made one, like on their phone or something, they could do that. If it's assignment, they have the video there, it actually shows up like this. So I recorded a video specifically for this testing, and when the video is done processing, which is the key term, it needs to process first before they can actually submit it. This little outlined pink star shows up next to it, and it says add to submission. So their work in progress area is not their submissions at all. They have to choose what they want to submit. So if they did a couple different takes of their video, they can select which one they like better. And then they just click on the pink star, it moves it down to the submission area, and then they can submit it here, and then you would see it. The peer review ends up being a little different, but what it will show you is, I actually might be able to show you with the group assignment, just to show you what the peer review would actually look like. So the peer review shows up as a separate section at the top once they submit their assignment, and you'll see any videos that your peer has, any sort of files will show up here as well. And then whatever you comment will have a timestamp on it. If you commented without opening the video, it'll be at 00. Then I also commented at 1 second and deleted the comment so I could see that too. And then here I put on the 5-star rating, and I put 4 stars on it, so you can do it from 1 to 5. And this one I believe was manual, so if I clicked on this drop down, if there were more than one other group, I could see all of them and select who I wanted to review. And then you could also click next peer if you just kind of wanted the system to pick anyway, you didn't really want to choose. But that's kind of a quick run through of what the peer review actually looks like on Bongo. And even though I'm in Moodle, it should be very, very similar. But that's kind of a very quick run through of it. Are there any questions about anything so far?
Nope.
All right. We are zooming along. We only have one more thing to talk about. Well, 1.5 more things. The last part about this Bongo situation I want to discuss is adding it to content, which is, where we put our content in Brightspace. So to add your video assignments to your content tool, you just click on content at the top, choose whichever module you want to put it in, and then click existing activities. And you'll be able to go down to video assignments right from here. And it should show you anything that you've created. And you can also create one right from here as well. So I'm going to click on the one I created. And then it adds it at the bottom of your list as an external learning tool, but the student should be able to click on it from here and view it right within Brightspace. Like as you noticed before, when I used the Moodle option for Bongo, it opened up a separate tab for me. In Brightspace, it opens it up right in the page, so you don't have to go anywhere else, which is pretty cool. So on the instructor side with these assignments, you can see an overview when you click on the assignment again. So it would name all of your participants, all of your learners, and what state they are in the progress of this assignment. So whether they've viewed it yet, if they're working on it, if you need to grade it, if it's been graded, and if the grade has been published. So you get this nice little overview of where your class is at with the assignments, if you choose to use it, of course. All right, so last, we're going to talk about the groups option. If you wanted to create groups in your course, that was something you could do in Moodle as well, but here it's a little bit more straightforward and there's some cool tips and tricks as well. So you can click on the tools menu and then click on groups. It should be right in there. And if you don't have any groups, you will see this blank page and you need to create a category. So for groups, categories kind of refer to like the overarching bucket for your group. So if you wanted to maybe have a bunch of groups for like your final project, you can say like final project groups, and that is the bucket or container for all of these groups. You can have a description for them as well, though I believe the description is mainly for you. I think the students can also see it if you allow them to, but in kind of general, it's for you to know what these groups are for. So this is for the final project. Talk to your group members and get stuff done. And just like with any other text box in Brightspace, you'll see all of these HTML editor good tools to play with. You can put in videos and all of that cool stuff. But like I said, it's mainly for you, so a bit of text should suffice. Now, enrollment type is a bit interesting because there's a whole bunch of enrollment types. So the first one is number of groups, and it says no auto enrollments. So this pretty much gives you the option to set a certain number of groups, and then you can assign students to that certain number of groups. So if I wanted to say like 6 groups, then I can assign the students myself. So they can't pick, you just kind of put them all around. We have groups of number. So if you wanted groups and you wanted each group to have 3 people in it, you would just say groups of 3. So if I clicked on that, it just asks for a number of users and you fill that in. And then the students can enroll themselves. Actually, no, it's auto enroll, my bad. And then there's number of groups, which is you set the number of groups and it auto enrolls the students based on how many there are in your class. And then you have the self-enrollment equivalents of those two. So these allow the students to actually select which groups they want to be in. And then there is the number of groups, capacity of number, self-enrollment. So if you wanted to say you want 3 people in each group and then you want 4 groups, if a student tries to join a group that is already full, they will not be able to. Whereas with this number of groups one, if you said, oh yeah, there's 4 groups, you can have maybe an uneven amount in each one depending on how many students want to be in which groups. So this one still allows some freedom with the students. They can select their groups, but you can also kind of mandate how many are in each group. So that's kind of a nice option. Group prefix is what happens before the number, the group number. So if I wanted to say project dudes, and then it would say like 1, 2, 3, and 4, because I have group numbers. Pretty much all that means. Then we have some advanced properties. So if you want to set the date where self-enrollment starts, you can check the box here and say, as of midnight today, October 22nd, students can start self-enrolling in groups. Then you can also set an expiration date. So if you wanted them to stop enrolling in groups by the 26th to kind of get things, moving on their final projects, you can do that. And then you have the nice option to allocate unenrolled users after the expiration date so that they can just have a group anyway. So you don't have students just kind of hanging around in limbo. Get a group even if they don't choose one themselves. So that's also very nice. And under additional options, we have something different. We have the option to set up discussion areas for these groups, and we have the option to set up assignments for these groups as well. If you're planning on setting up a forum for them to, talk to themselves in, it's probably a very good idea. You can check this box and you choose which forum you want it in. So remember from last week, forums are the overarching categories for discussions. I have 2 forums. I have exploration and weekly discussions. So maybe I'll stick it in exploration. I also have the option to create a new forum. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome. And then we can create a new topic. The only way to actually attach to an existing topic is if there's not currently any posts or any group restrictions on a topic. So if you created the topic beforehand, knowing that you want to use it for group projects, would be an option then. But usually it's creating a new topic that we end up going with. And then there's the other option to set up assignments. And if this is a final project and I want them to submit a paper or something, then yeah, I'm probably going to want to set up an assignment. So then you can select your assignment type right from here. We will get all of the assignment settings in just a couple steps. So I'm going to say it's file submission right now, and then click save to move on. So we are starting with our discussion area, and we have 2 options to choose from. We can either create 1 topic per group, so each group gets their own topic, which they can create threads in. So if it's like a bigger multi-part project, maybe you want to have 1 topic per group, as long as you don't have a million groups. So then they have the option to create as many threads as they want within that topic, and they kind of have it all to themselves. The other option is to create 1 topic with threads separated by group. So you kind of have a topic for group discussions, and then each group gets its own thread. So they don't get to create threads beyond that really for their groups. They just each get a thread, which sometimes is enough. It's really up to what you want, but I'm going to keep it on maybe create 1 topic per group. It does get rid of some options, so maybe I'll go back to create 1 topic. If you wanted to create 1 topic with threads separated by group, it gives you the option to title that topic, and then you can add a description. I'm going to say talk amongst yourselves. Just like with any other HTML editor, you can quick link to whatever is relevant to this discussion topic. If you want them to look at some more resources or link to like a Bongo recording you did or a Zoom recording, you can do that here. And then you can add another if you want to add another topic, or you can just create a next to go on to our next part, which is the assignments. So for the assignment, we have to give it a name. So project seems pretty apt here. We can also add our instructions for the assignment here as well. So we have some decent instructions. We can also add our attachments and record our audio and video as we looked at last week. And then you want to keep it on group assignment because this is a group assignment. We just created groups and we want this assignment to be a group assignment. So just in case you were unsure which category you wanted to put it in, you can select if you have multiple categories. But because, this is the final project groups category and we're making a final project, we're going to stick with it. You also have the option to change the submission type again. So if it ends up being like an in-person presentation, you can click observed in person. You can do on paper submission if you plan on having it be physical, like they hand in a piece of paper. Or you can do the file submission so it's completely online. You can then, adjust your other assignment settings as we looked at last week. Categories and all that fun stuff. We have our evaluation and feedback. So maybe it's out of 50 points this time. We create the grade item. I'll just do it for the fun of it. So final project, final, and then max points is 50. Cool. Everything's great. Click save. Then you can add your rubrics like we looked at last week. And then we can click create. So after we've finished creating our forum and our assignments, it gives us a little summary to make sure we know what we did. And then you click done and the category is here once more, and we can set up things differently if we like, but it has the included discussions and assignments with this category so you know what is connected to it. So we can just click save to save it finally, and we're thrown back into the groups page where we have our category. And then we have each of our groups, and we have the assignment it's connected to and the discussions as well. So if we go to the discussions tool, we should see under the exploration forum that we have the final project groups group discussion. So if I click on that, I come in here and each group will get their own thread, set it up themselves, but if they have their own little topic in which to write, so that's pretty cool. And from the student point of view, I can't really do it in this one because I did something with my account, but would be able to go to tools as well and click on groups. And if you set up self-enrollment, they would be able to choose a group and then join it, and that's how they would do it. So it might be worth, if you wanted to do self-enrolling groups, it might be worth sending out some instruction on where to go, but it's pretty self-explanatory once they know to look in the tools area. And of course, because you are the instructor in your course, you can change your nav bar. And if you wanted to take something like quizzes out of there and put groups up instead, then it would be front and center for them to see, and they wouldn't have to dig for it. It's probably a good idea if you want to use groups pretty extensively in your course.
Also, real quick, because I just found this out since Monday, because I did it in my own course, is that if you have a self-selecting group option shown up, that will show up in the quick links.
Oh,
so like
okay.
on the content page, you could do a quick link to the self-selecting group that they need to choose. So you can give them a link right to it.
Probably, yeah, like maybe up in the description or wherever the HTML editor is. Could probably do an announcement too then.
Mine was in an announcement.
Ah, yeah.
Pick a group by Friday.
Yeah, that's perfect. Then it's not so hard for them to find. Self-enrollment groups is what it would be under, and then you select it and they can click on that and they go straight to the group. It's awesome. So they don't have to find it. And you don't have to change your nav bar if you don't want to. But are there any questions about any of the stuff we talked today? Any groups, Bongo, Zoom, fun things? Okay. If not, I think there was one more thing Kat mentioned. It's very quick. So if you need to leave, I understand. But there was one thing we learned last week in these webinars that we attended for Brightspace, and that is post history. So you know how in Moodle, when you'd have forum discussions and students would have 30 minutes to edit after they post, and maybe they realized after the 30 minutes that it was all screwed up and they messed something up. Usually they would just respond to themselves in their discussion topics and kind of fix the issues. But here they can actually still edit their posts, which is nice, except for maybe the fact that you don't, you want to know if they change something after the due date. Well, if I go in here, I should be able to click on this post here. And if you click on the little context menu, you can view the post history. And the student hasn't changed anything in their post. I know that, but you can see any changes, what date and time, and what was actually changed from the original post. So if you needed to see and make sure that nothing was changed, you can always click on post history and you'll see this little summary. Kind of like Google Docs when you go into the version history for that, and you can see if people change things. You can always go in and kind of check up on it. So, well, I'm going to stop the share. Just, I guess, last things. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything that was unclear?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, you guys are a great audience.
Yay for us.
I will